We discussed about how we can configure the components, accessing the components and using the components, a component in another component, how we can transport the data from one component to another component, and what are input and output properties. So how we can create custom events. So what is input decorator and what is the output decorator? So what is event emitter? These are the basic things we learned. So we will see how we can implement this in one example. How to implement this in an example. We will see that. So let's see how we can transport data from one component to another and do that in a simple example. Already yesterday I showed you by using parent-child components, how to create custom events and how to transport data between the components. Now let's create a simple design. So generally in real world applications, how we implement this, one simple example. So I'm creating a component here. Let's add a new component. Let's add a new component. So ng generate component products. Okay. I'm adding a component called products. So let's add the products component. Yeah. So now this products component contains some data. I will keep this products component in the startup. So in the bootstrap, the products component is in the startup. And let's go to the products component. First, we will keep in HTML also, index products. We have products. Yeah. Now the products component is in the startup and it is working. We will present some data into it. We will configure and present some data in the products component. Okay, this is products component working. Let's add some data into products component. So let's go to the component. Yeah. I have already some data. Let me copy that. This is all the data I'm having. Okay. So the same in the products component. In the products component, I configured some data. So this is the data. And in addition to this, so we will add some more information also here. So in addition to these details, we will add a category, extra category. So this category, so electronics, okay. So these two products belongs to electronics. So this is category of, so this is category, yeah. So footwear. and these two belongs to footwear, and this is category fashion. Okay, so this belongs to fashion, category fashion. Okay, so now we have some products that belongs to various categories. Now I want to present this. Let's design here div and class margin top some 3 and a header. So here some heading, Amazon, some shopping, something. And let's add class. Just this will be text center, text primary, something. Okay. And below this, we will create a section. Okay. In this section, we have a div, and in that we have column. First row. In the row, we have the column. This is 3, and here we have div and the class call some 8, 9. Okay, right. Now in the right side column, we want to display a table. So here I want to display the table. So table, and let's present the data. So table or card style we can present anyway. I'm just giving a table form or defining that. Let's create a card. Okay, div. So class card group, and here we are defining div class is equal to card and n for let item of data. Okay, and div the class is card header, and here we want a heading, and this is item dot name and paragraph. So here item dot price, and at the top I have an image. Height is some 200, and src is equal to item dot photo, and class card image top. Okay, so this is the data we are presenting, and you can see this is the data, and I will keep this as card group. Yeah, let's add this as display flex. We are using display flex for that content. Yeah, and flex wrap. Okay, so we are using flex wrapping and display flex for that. Okay, and we will give another option is flex column, so that keeps the content in this way. Okay, and here we will add width 25. Okay, that's enough. So we have the content in this way. Yeah. So this is all the data we are having. So this is the data we are having. Okay. Now this is all the data we are having, all the contents we are displaying. Now I need to keep a filter option for this. I need to keep a filter option for this. That means, so left side, I want a filter so that user can display only the products he want. That means only electronics, only footwear, only fashion, only the products that he want. So we want a filter, and that filter must work everywhere where you have products. That means not only in this location, in various other locations also. That means various other components also. We have to deal with products. Then everywhere I need filtering of products. So in that case, we can design a separate component for filtering, and we can attach that to this component. So that means we can create a separate component so that we can use in various locations. So let's create a component for filtering. Let's create a component for filtering. So you're displaying however you want, you can display depending on your requirement, you can configure that. So for the card, how you want to display, because generally I just given this in a line by line. So actually you can configure the flexible display, grid display any way you want. So if I use another option like card group, it have a predefined appearance actually. So we have like flex row, and you can see it will display the content in this way. Suppose W100, so width 100, then it will adjust the content and show. So it depends. So if I move this card image top, and I don't want the card image top, then I can just keep that. So inside the card body, so div, so class card body, and in that we can put the image, and no need of this class, just height is enough for that. So this will keep the content in this way, width adjusted and configured everything depending on your requirement. So here I defined column, reverse, and all. This is fine. Now this is all the data we are having, and I want a filtering option for this data. Right side, left side, I want filter. Then what we do is, let's add a component. So ng generate component filter. So I'm adding a component called filter. Skip this. Okay. I'm adding a filter component. Okay. So let's design that filter component first. So once it is added, we can design the filter component. Yeah. Now let's go to the filter component. In HTML, let's prepare a design first. So here we will keep a div and class some margin top as 3. And here we added a heading filter products. And let's create a simple drop down here, select. Or we can choose radios or anything. So class is equal to form select. And in this we have option. So we have all, and its value is equal to all. Value is all. And we have another option. So electronics, and its value also electronics. Okay. And we have option, so value as footwear, value as footwear, and text footwear and fashion. These are the categories we are having. So value so is equal to fashion, and text fashion. Okay. Now that is filter component. Now I want that filter component beside this or above this, anywhere. You can add it that anywhere. Now if you want the filter component beside that, then in products component in the left column, we want to access that component. Then it's simple. We have to use its selector, app filter. So that's it. This filter component gets the detail here. So filter products is there. So filter products is configured. Now I will put this class as container fluid. Okay. Now you can see that is the filter and the data. Filter products is a separate component, and products list is a separate component. We have two different components here. And we are displaying those components. So that means we are accessing and configuring. Filter component is separately designed. Suppose I just remove this margin, it is having more, and it will be in this way. Now, two components you are watching on one screen. Why we designed filter as a separate component? Because I can use everywhere where products are used. Reusability concerns. That's the reason we designed a separate component for that. Now the point is how these two communicate. You created a component and accessed in another component. That's good. Now the next step is this filter component is the child component, and our products is the parent. Now into this filter component, all products, electronics, footwear, fashion, I want to just show the number, how many are there, how many products are there, how many electronics are there, footwear, fashion are there. I want to show that number. But that information is not present in filter products. So that information is present in the component here. That means actually, now what we have to do is, so in this, what we need to do here is, in this component, we have to, in these two components, we need to create a simple hierarchy. So the hierarchy is nothing but how many products are there, how many products are there, that information we need to send here. So actually, we have to send information from one component to another, because products list is not present in filter component. Filter component is a separate component. So then how many products are present? How many products are present? It doesn't know. That information must be sent from the parent component. That means this is our parent component. This is our parent component. And this is the child component. The child component. Now we need to send data from the parent to child. So this, how many electronics are there, that information we need to send to this child. That is the first step. Already we know how to handle that. How we can send data from parent to child. So for that, first, in the child component, there must be some properties ready which can accept data from parent. So how do we create the properties in child component? In filter, we need to import. Here we need to import. So at the top, one is input. So we have to import input, another output. We need, and another event emitter. These are all from Angular core library. We have to import these classes, interfaces, all these are input, output, and event emitter. Okay. Then we have to create some properties here. One is all count. all count is a property, so which is initially 0. Similarly, electronics count is a property, that's also initially 0. Footwear count is 0. Fashion count is 0. All are 0. Now, these are not accessible. These we need to present. Go to filter component, and beside that all, I can just put here. So all count, all. And all is nothing but here we have all count. So we need to display that all count. And here electronics, I will use electronics count. Electronics count. Okay. So we need to display that electronics count. Okay. And here we need footwear count. Footwear count. And here we need fashion count. Fashion count. Fashion count. Yeah. You see, initially all are 0. You see, all are 0. All 0, electronics 0, footwear 0, fashion 0. All are 0. Now, we need to send data, that information from the component right side to left. That means the parent to child. Then these properties must be accessible to parent. Currently, those properties are not accessible to parent. You try here. So in app filter, the properties like all count is not accessible. So this property is not accessible. So then what we have to do is, we have to mark the properties with input. Input. Input is a decorator individual for every property. Every property need to be marked with input decorator. Now they are accessible to parent. They're accessible to parent component. So you can see here now all count is available. But parent component have to send that information into this. So now in parent component, we have the data. Now we need information like all count. All count. How you will get all count? So simple. This dot data dot length. It will return how many products are there. That is an array. So it is simple to calculate that. Now similarly, next, electronics count. Electronics count. How to get electronics count? So this dot data dot filter. Filter is an array function in JavaScript. And this array function of JavaScript, it uses a callback function. So where we will say, we will access every product and we will verify if product dot category, product dot category is equal to electronics. If product category is electronics, get only those products length and return. That's it. That means now this filter function will filter and return only the products whose category is electronics. And we don't want those products, we want only their length, how many. Then electronics count will return electronics, how many are there. Similarly, footwear count. Footwear count, this dot data dot filter. So product implies, so product dot category is equal to footwear dot count. So dot length. So we are accessing it. So fashion count is equal to this dot data dot filter, and product implies, so product dot category is equal to fashion, and dot length, it will return fashion length. So all the data is ready. Now this we need to send it to the child component, filter component. Then filter component is have a property called all count. Into that we will send this all count. Similarly, it have electronics count. Into that we will pass electronics count. Okay. Similarly, we have footwear count, and we will send here footwear count. Similarly, we have fashion count, and we will send here fashion count. We'll send here fashion count. All this is done. Now you can see you are sending the details from the parent to the child. So you can observe now those details are updated here. That means all 6 electronics to footwear to fashion to. How many are there? It will display. So this is good. Now you are sending data from one component to another, parent to child. That's good, working fine. Now, when user selects electronic, only electronic products must display here. That means when user selects electronic, only electronic products must display here. That means what we need to do now is we have to send this name. That means which category they selected. We need to send this name from child component to the parent. So we are accessing some data from parent to child already going. That count is sending. Now we need to send this category name. Whenever the category is changed, I want to send the category name to the parent component so that it can display only the products that belongs to that particular category. Only the products that belongs to that particular category. So then how you can send from child to parent? Now actually you know that. That means already we know this. That means this is the child component, and this is the parent component. So from child to parent, we need to send the data. That means we need an emitter. That means we need a custom event. So now let's see how we can send the data from child to parent, so that parent can use and filter and display only that. So for that, now we have to do one more work. So we need to go to the filter component, which is our child component. In the filter component, first we need to get selected category. Selected category name. So reasonably, I'm giving lengthy names just to make you understand for what purpose we are using actually. So selected category name, so is initially all. Selected category name is initially all. Okay. Now this I will bind with the drop down. So by using two-way binding ng model, so I will access here selected category name. That means whenever the category is selected, its value electronics, that value will be sent into this. Now you must be careful, because when you are sending, this value should match with the values you are having, categories you are having in parent component. There I mentioned uppercase. So make sure that here also we have uppercase electronic fashion footwear. Otherwise, those category names will mismatch. So capitalization matters. However, you can convert into lowercase and use, but it's not necessary. Instead of converting them and displaying, use the correct names. That will be better. Later, you will not have a problem, because if this data is coming from a database, then in the database you have one table with the categories, one table with products, and we can manipulate the data and use them. That I will show you in services how we can do initially. Now one more work we have to do. Another work is, now this selected category name must be sent when the category is changed. So we will have to configure an event also for that. First, so we need a custom event, our own event. I will give the event name as send category name. Send category name. It is an event. How you will define that? By using event emitter. And what kind of data it is sending? String, because only category name we have to send, is equal to new event emitter string type data. Already yesterday I showed you that we can send any kind of data. It's not just a string. We can send an object or any kind of data. So now, so selected category name will be sent by this event. And when to send it? So on category change. On category change, that must be sent. On category change, we have to send it. And to send it outside the current component, you have to mark with @output. @output, this is required for that. Now this, when category is changed, so this event should fire up. So this dot, so here we have this dot, yeah. This dot send category name. Send category name is a event. Then it should emit the selected category name. This dot emit this dot selected category name. It should emit that category name, selected category name. That means which is string, it is sending that category name. So whenever category is changed, it is sending that category name. Okay, it is emitting the category name. Now this on category change should fire up. It should fire up when user changes the category. So here we have a change event. On change, we have to send that category name. That means on category changed. That's the option we need to configure. So yeah, yes. So here, what is that on category change? So we have to send that footwear count. Okay, fine. Now let's go here. So footwear, this is okay, yeah. And on category changed. On category changed is the on category change. Okay. So it will fire up and it will send the data. It will send the data. Now, whenever the category is changed, this value will be projected and that value will be emitted outside this component and sent to another component by using a custom event called send category name. So this send category name is a custom event. So let's go to the products component. In products component, now for app filter, we can use that event, that is send category name. Okay. This event needs a method. So we will create a method which can collect the data, from this particular event. So we will create a method. So here, get category name. It is expecting an event argument, any type. And in that event argument, the category name will be there. So I will store that here in a local variable, that is category name. Category name is initially all. And I need to apply that. With the category name coming. That means this dot category name is equal to E. That means whatever the category name is emitted into this, we have to collect it. So now go to the products component. Here we have to access the method get category name. This method, that means whatever the method name we given, get category name, it is expecting the event argument. That means get category name. Into that we have to pass $event. That means this send category is a custom event which is emitting the category name. That category name will be sent through this $event. We will collect the category name through this event argument, and we will store that in this category name variable or this property. Now what we have to do, we have to filter the products based on this category name. So let's go to the filter here. And here currently we are displaying all the products. So I will use now here, I will create a ng container. Why we need that already I told you. In this ng container, I am creating here, this is the iteration I am writing. In the container, I am writing the iteration. Inside the container, we have a card. And this card should not be for every product. So we use ng if here. That means container is iterating all the cards, but all cards should not display. They should display only the categories which are matching with the category name you collected. So here ng if here. So what is the reference having category name? So here we will use if category name is equal to all. If category name is equal to or we are using or. So category name is equal to any of the item dot category. If it is matching with any of item dot category, then display only those. If category name is all, display all. If category name is any of the category name available in the list, then display only that. That is the condition. This I told you in iterations and conditions concept. The same we need to implement here now. Now when I select here electronics, only electronic products will be here. Only electronic products will be here. So suppose I kept this here, flex wrap, display flex and all, I will remove them. So then I keep this just as a card group. Then it will display all these like this. I select electronics, only electronics will come. I select footwear, only footwear products will come. I select fashion, only the fashion products will come. And I select all, and all will be displayed. You can display in different styles, your wish. So the point is we are sending the data from one component to another component and using it. Now, in any another location, wherever products are present, so there also I can use the same component by sending that products related information into this. So you can reuse this component anywhere where we want to filter the products, where we want to display the products, not only in this component. So technically, in real world development process, custom events, input and output properties are used in this situation. That means, so we need to display so many things in one screen, and we need some functionality across components. Then we design our own components. We design our own components, and we access and use those components. Design and use those components. And when you design your own components, every component will have a custom event. So those custom events we need to configure. So this is what actually we need to understand for how to deal with the custom events and how do we work with the components. This example, I will upload, complete example, I will upload into the classroom. So this is how we can create the components, how you can configure the components, and how we can use custom events for the components. So this is all about the components and how the components are used in our application. Now, once we know about all these components, how to configure and work with the components. So one more important you need to know is the components. Till now, we have custom components. That means all the components that we are using are our own created. But you also have some predefined components, ready-made components provided by several third parties, which you can inject them and use them. No need to design them. That means suppose I want like a grid, I want like a calendar, I want like a navigation bar, I want like a pop-up. Then you don't need to waste time in designing every component. So by manual approach. In real world projects, we don't waste time in designing everything. If it is already available as a third party, we can just borrow from the third parties, we can inject into our component, and we can use them. So that means we don't need to design such filtering, sorting, or searching like components manually every time. We can bring ready-made components and use. Angular have a component library like that called material. Angular material. Angular material. Angular material is a component library. It is a component library. And this component library provides several predefined components. It is actually just like Bootstrap. You know, Bootstrap also have components, Bootstrap components like navigation bar, carousels, cards, form components. Bootstrap is also having components. You can see, for example, uh, get Bootstrap. This is the official website. And in this website, you can see, you see Bootstrap have components. There is a components category. And you see, these are all the components: accordion, alert, badge, buttons, carousels, drop downs. All these are components. So you see, accordion is a component. This is an accordion that looks like this. That is an accordion component. So we have a carousel component. You know that very popularly. This is a carousel component. You can slide to the next one, previous one. This is carousel. Like these components we can use in our Angular. But actually these components are again jQuery native actually. These are all designed with jQuery, HTML, CSS combination, jQuery native. So that is the reason. So they will be little bit difficult for Angular to translate again into the native. But however, a majority of the projects we use them. But Angular have its own component library called material. So we have material. This is Angular material. This Angular material is nothing but it provides ready-made components for you. Like you see, same like Bootstrap. So components, you see, you have autocomplete, badge, bottom sheet, button, card. Here also you have card models. Here also we have them. But remember, you may not have everything what Bootstrap is having. Bootstrap may not have everything that this is having. That's the reason we use a combination, mixture. We use a combination of both. We use the combination of both and design actually, because we which one prefer first is prefer this Angular material first. Why? Because Angular material is specially designed by Angular team for Angular. This will be more native for Angular, easy for Angular to deal with. But so at a certain stage, some components we need and material is not providing, then you have to go with third party, others. So material will provide the ready-made component. Suppose you want a calendar. So that means you have a date picker component, and this date picker component will give you a calendar. So this you can inject and use. But you have to correctly understand how to use these components. How do we work with the components? Not only Angular material. So many third parties are there. Actually, Angular material is free. You can use the components freely from this Angular material. You have like Telerik. Telerik is also a third party which provides components for Angular. So that means you can use these Telerik people's components also. You see, Telerik is another. Telerik is not free. You have to purchase the components. If you want to use the components, why? Because even generally your technologies also don't have capacity of handling everything. Suppose you are learning Java. So you done with your some Java programming and all. Suppose if I ask like in Java how to write a code for generating barcode, how to write the logic for generating QR code, then obviously you will tell about some third party library, because Java don't have a built-in barcode library. You have to depend on third party libraries and you have to use them. Every technology needs to depend on third party, because every technology is not having all the abilities that various clients needs for their requirements. Some gaps will be there. We have to fill up those gaps by using the third party. And Telerik is very popular. You may be hearing about Telerik for the first time, but you see, these are the customers of Telerik. NASA is customer of Telerik. Microsoft is customer of Telerik. Samsung, IBM, these are customers of Telerik. World Bank groups. That means if NASA is customer of Telerik, then you can imagine the abilities of Telerik. That means they provide software support for NASA like people. Then you can imagine their abilities. So you don't know about Telerik, that's your problem. But Telerik is very popular in the world. And when you go to demos, you see Telerik people give you for all technologies. They have for .NET, they have for JSP, Java, they have for PHP. So they have even for desktop applications, for mobile, everywhere. That means now suppose you go to your JSP, so Java, or you can see they provide components for Angular also. You see they provide, so for Angular, they provide components for Angular. You see so many components are present. And these are all components. And if you want to use any specific component, so any specific component, suppose I want to use like grid. So data grid. So I selected that component. You can see the grid will be displayed in this way. So if you want to design a grid, so like that. So it will take some time. So I need to design a grid like this so that I can search the employees. I can filter here. I can sort here. I can filter here. So I can add the details here. So that means contains, so is equal to some condition and contains some options. So that means these kind of components, if you have to manually design, it's very complex. And in real world projects, we cannot invest all the time in designing and wasting the time. So we borrow from these third parties, we inject into our component and customize according to our requirement. We send our data into this. This is why we call as now our applications are completely component based. We have a navigation component, we have a drop down component, we have a calendar component, we have a grid component. One page contains several components. Everything is configured with that. So now we will see how to use. This is paid source. It's not free. It's not free. So Telerik related any component you want to use, you have to purchase Telerik. It's not free. So I just showed you a third party that these are the popular people. You have to purchase the library from this Telerik. So you see, it's very costly because you know that the ability, this is per developer per year. So $1,200 the pricing, depending on what components you want, depending on what components you want. So but they have a complete support and handle provide the support. Now the point is how to use such project workspace. Go to the project workspace. Go to the project workspace. And once you are in the workspace, here, in order to add material, so in order to add Angular material to the project, so we need to just run the command. So ng add Angular / material. This is how we need to add this material library to the project. So ng add Angular material. So we are adding Angular material to the project. Now hit enter. Now when I try to add this Angular material, it will walk through some questions to you. You have to understand and you have to follow them. So first option is we are adding material library to the project. So ng add Angular material and Angular / material. First, it will ask few questions. So the questions like which theme you want, which CSS you want, it will step by step configure. You see, first step, it is asking. So Angular material 12 will be installed and executed. Would you like to proceed? Yes. Okay. So it is installing the Angular material library for you. So it is adding all the material into your project. So once this library is added, that means all the components you can inject and use them one by one according to your requirement. How to follow a process, a step-by-step process to handle this correctly. So we need to configure everything in a proper way. You need to know the step-by-step procedure of handling it. We need to know the step-by-step procedure for handling. Why? Because if you miss any small dependency, because components have a lot of dependencies, and you are trying to use a component and you are missing its dependency, then you cannot see it working at exactly how expected. So that's the reason these steps are very important. So here, after successfully installing, it is asking that we have ready-made themes for this material. Themes are nothing but like Bootstrap CSS. We have ready-made themes. Do you want to use any theme, or you can select your own custom theme? You can use up and down arrows. Custom theme means you can create your own CSS. Better, we will select an existing CSS provided by them, because all colors effects are predefined. Later also you can change if you want, it doesn't matter. So initial theme I selected as some indigo pink. That is the theme I selected. Okay. Next, it is asking one more question. The question is, it is saying that, do you want to set up Angular material typography styles? These typography styles are nothing but actually fonts. Do you want to set Angular material fonts also? Angular material uses a font called Roboto. So Roboto font. Do you want it? Yes. Because if you don't use the same font, in their website, how it looks, the same appearance you will not get here. It's okay. You can change different fonts, but you will have a little different appearance than what exactly it is showing in the preview. So that's the reason we will keep these fonts. These are good for those components. Next, it is asking, do you want to set up animations for Angular material? Angular material needs animations. It's mandatory that you need and you defined animation. So if you don't use animation, material will provide only presentation, not functionality. So we need functionality also. Then we have to use animation. This will actually add a library called browser animations. So we have to add it. Yes. Okay. Now it is adding all the material library according to your requirement and setting up. So we need to add the Angular material from here. So it is successfully installed. Now it is done. Now once the Angular material is successfully installed and it is configured, now go to this style.css file. Because materials have a separate style sheet, go to this styles.css file. In the styles.css file, already we have bootstrap styles. We are having bootstrap icons and all. Now it is using Roboto font family. So into the page, and here we can import the theme that you have selected. So we can import the CSS theme. This theme is very important. So for keeping in a good appearance, you have to add that theme here. And actually, this theme is present in a specific location. That means what we have to do, import, we have to write @Angular / we will have a library material. In the material library, you can see here, actually in the node modules, you see in the node modules folder. So we have Angular, @Angular. In that @Angular material, in the material, you will find a folder called, pre-built themes. In the pre-built themes, you have those themes related CSS files. That means we need to configure that in the material. So we have pre-built themes. In the pre-built themes, so you have some indigo, pink .css. That's what we want to use. You can just link it. This is a material theme file that is required for presenting the Angular material components. So that is ready. Now that is ready. Okay. Now your Angular material is ready. It is configured for your project. Now you can use this material in your components and see how the presentation works. I will show you the difference between the material and your general bootstrap. Means with bootstrap, how the presentation happens. With material, how it happens. I will show you a small example how we can do that. Let's see one simple example. So first we have to add a component. So let's add a component. ng generate component material demo. Okay, we are adding material demo component, and so let's keep this in the startup. So you see in the modules, browser animations is added. Okay, and material demo component. Let's keep that in the startup. So material demo component. So, okay. Now in this, what we have to do here is in the material demo component. So we will create and use the existing components provided by material, and we will see how it is different. So let's go to the HTML page. So let's create a div. So class, so container, this is bootstrap. I will create a div. So class as margin top 2. Okay, here I'm adding a heading. So this is bootstrap input. Okay, for that we will put here, so label. Usually bootstrap uses a label. So our label will have a class called form label. And here we have like user name. And we have a text box here, input type is equal to text. And here we defined the class as form control. And let's keep this div, so with a class as, so w with 25, something like this. And you can see that this is actually bootstrap input. In bootstrap, input will be like this: label, text box, general bootstrap it is. So the bootstrap input is in this way. So heading 2 I give here. Okay, that is bootstrap input. Now let's see how material input works. So I will keep another one, how the material input works, how the material configuration works. So technically, now let's add one more. So div and class margin top 2. And here we are adding, so a heading. So this is material input. We will just see the difference, how we can use the material input. Okay, now how to design the material input? Actually, to design material input, so material provides material input module and form field module. So we have two important modules. Let's see. First, we have to go to app module.ts. I will also show you how to explore by yourself and learn these materials. We will discuss about that. Now let's go here, and here we are adding the configuration. Here we are defining. In order to use material related components, we have to import the library. So for example, we are importing the library. So what we need, one is we have to import, so from Angular / material. From Angular material, we have a form field. Okay, first we will import material form field, mat form field module. So we have to import that mat form field module. We have to import that mat form field module. We have to get that mat form field module. Actually, form field is nothing but it is like a placeholder. It keeps all the label. It's like a div, you can say container. Okay, and we need another is we have to import the mat input module also. So mat form field module and mat input module. So import. So we are importing mat input module, and this is from, so from Angular / material / so we have the input. So we have input. From the input, we are adding it. Okay, we have to register these two modules. So we are registering those two modules. One is mat form field module. Okay, another module. Modules are registered inside this imports. Already we know that we imported forms module there. And mat input module. Okay, now they are ready to use. Let's go to material. Here in the material input, in this heading, what I'm doing here, simply This time I am configuring. So a matte form field, that is an element. Inside this matte form field, so inside the matte form field, we have a matte label, just like our general Bootstrap HTML labels that we have. The matte label, we have defined a matte label, and the label I will give as username. Okay, good. And you see, suppose we want a text box now, then we will use input. So type is equal to text. That is okay. It is a normal text, but we will name it as, we will give it as, so matte input. We will mark it as matte input. It is material input. We are configuring material input, and we will use a placeholder. So placeholder, we will say enter username. Here also we will use a placeholder. So placeholder, enter username. We will define like this. Now you can see you have two important components here. You see your username and placeholder looks like this inside general Bootstrap. But observe here, this is material input. In material input, this is label. And when I click inside the label, that label goes up and a text box comes and placeholder will appear. I click outside, then it will be normal. So it looks good. So it looks good, and it is different from your Bootstrap. That means now Bootstrap have only this to provide, and this have a different approach. You have a lot of attributes, you can implement them. This makes your presentation in Angular more better. This is more native to Angular. It will perform better. So that means you will have more better appearance than your general Bootstrap. But you don't have everything that is required for your project. That's the reason we have to use a mixture of both of them. Some Bootstrap, some materials, we have to use combination. Now, how to learn materials and how to use materials, we have to understand. We have to use both. You have to learn both. You have to see, without Bootstrap, you are not a developer for web technologies. People will laugh if you say that I don't know Bootstrap, but I know Angular or React like technologies. So that is very silly thing, right? So you cannot be a web developer without HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. You can't call yourself as a developer for web. Okay. So Bootstrap is mandatory, and this is good for your Angular applications, but everything it cannot manage. You have to manage with the help of combination of both of them. So now how to explore the components, how to use the components. I will give you a step-by-step process so that you can easily understand and you can try other components by yourself now. Like a calendar, like a card, how to design, you can get it from the website and you can try by yourself. So I will show you the process, how to step-by-step explore them and work with them. That we will see in our next session. Tomorrow we will do that. Okay. In tomorrow's session, one more time, I will explain this step by step and how to explore from the website and implement that. Okay, right.